Welcome to Creepy Joe's Horror Show! With special guest, Slip Rick the Skeleton.
It's not my fault the babes like me, man.
Also, Whoa!
Perverts.
And don't forget about your legendary loser host himself, Creepy Joe!
Welcome to Creepy Joe's Horror Show. Today we're going to discuss Fright Night from 1985. Fright Night is a 1985 American horror film written and directed by Tom Holland and produced by Herb Jaffe. It stars William Ragsdale, Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowall, Amanda Burse, Jonathan Stark, Dorothy Felding, Stephen Jeffries, and Art Evans. The film follows young Charlie Brewster, who discovers that his next-door neighbor, Jerry Dandridge, is a vampire. When no one believes him, Charlie decides to get Peter Vincent, a TV show host who acted in films as a vampire hunter, to stop Jerry's killing spree. All right. It's been quite some time. I realized this. I was working a lot on my other channels for a while, and I kind of wanted to see where this one went because it was in its beginning stages. I was kind of getting a feel for what I wanted to do on it. And in my 9-month absence, I see that my subscriber count has gone up a little bit. Not much, but it's enough to where I think I'm going to do this consistently. So,
Oh, really?
Fright Night, directed by Tom Holland, who, was the writer of Class of 1984. He's involved in all kinds of stuff. I mean, he directed Child's Play in 1988. He also directed Thinner, and also did the screenplay for Psycho 2 back in 1983, I want to say. So he's, dipped into the horror genre quite a bit. And I mean, he's done plenty more other than that as well. But the film basically is a young teenager. I mean, I wouldn't say young. He's, maybe 17 years old. Charlie Brewster and his friend Eddie, who's played by Stephen Jeffries. And I can kind of relate to Charlie's character as far as being kind of nerdy and into horror. He's like obsessed with horror movies. And the cool thing is though, is like he still has a chick that's like obsessed with him, his girlfriend Amy, and she's a pretty girl. So even though he's a nerd, he's like a cool nerd. But anyway, his best friend Eddie, who's kind of a misfit and doesn't know where he belongs, they all kind of work well together as friends. I mean, as far as how this is written and everything, the plot, it's done well. Like, you can relate to these characters. And then Charlie starts to suspect that his next door neighbor, Jerry Dandridge, who's played by Chris Sarandon, he's an awesome actor as well. He suspects that he's a vampire.
Well, Charlie, don't be rude. Check in.
A lot of, his behavior and, he's only out at night. He never sees him during the day. And so he starts to become obsessed with it, and he sees proof. There's bodies starting to come out in bags out of his house at night. Hookers are disappearing. And so he gets a local TV horror host, vampire hunter, Peter Vincent, who's played by Roddy McDowall. And he's an awesome actor as well. I mean, they're all awesome. The whole cast is really good in this movie.
What are we going to do? What are you gonna do?
But he gets Peter Vincent. His Charlie's friends convince him to help out because they think that Charlie's losing his mind or whatever, and they actually pay Peter Vincent to go along to the neighbor's house and perform, certain tests to make sure that he's in fact not a vampire.
Satisfied? Oh,
Totally.
And while they're there, they kind of find out that he is
I expect we have a lot of the same interests, you know, in horror movies and the occult.
Peter Vincent actually finds out he doesn't have a reflection, and there's, you know, a lot more that goes along with it, but ultimately he's after Charlie, the vampire is after Charlie, and he's trying to kill all of them, and he falls in love with the girlfriend Amy and is trying to make her into a vampire to be his, you know, bride or whatever. So basically the rest of the movie, they get prepared and they fight back and they take down Jerry Dandridge and his helper. They get the police involved and detectives. The detective, I want to say, it was Detective Lennox, and it was played by Art Evans, I believe. So yeah, he comes over to the house and everything, and they all just think he's nuts. So basically the rest of the movie is them taking him down and stopping him from killing anyone else. And it gets pretty in-depth. It's awesome. But as far as my favorite parts of the movie, I would have to say the club scene is pretty cool when they're in the club, and the two bouncers that are in the club, I believe they were football players. I think one of them played for the Steelers. But yeah, that whole like sequence of him possessing her in the club and they're dancing to this like amazing 80s music, and my other favorite part, of course, this is probably my favorite part of the whole movie, is when the friend Eddie, you know, Peter Vincent finally kills Eddie and he turns into like this werewolf looking, giant rat looking creature. That's what stands out to me the most in that movie. Now, I'll rate it I'll give it a 4 out of 5, man. It's a great, you know, it's like a cult classic. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, like, you saw Fright Night for sure.
Well, bottoms up.
All right, so if you haven't seen Fright Night, I'd advise you go see it, or else I wouldn't do a review on it. It's awesome. It's definitely a cult classic from the 80s, and I guess
Tell them about your favorite vampires, man.
I mean, I guess, man. I don't know. I don't think anyone really cares to know who my favorite vampires are.
Don't be bashful, man.
All right, we'll end this one with my top favorite vampires from any movie franchise, and there's no, you know, year limit. So
10 of
all
them.
right. These aren't in any particular order. I'm gonna have to say, and don't get mad at me because Jerry Dandridge, Christopher Sarandon is not, you know, my favorite. He's not my favorite vampire, but we'll say I'm gonna say Wesley Snipes from Blade. He's definitely up there. Tom Cruise from Interview with the Vampire. That's pretty underrated, but he did an awesome job, and especially like the piano scene. Good stuff. Kate Beckinsale from Underworld, man. I think she's notable enough. I think that, you know, she does an awesome job. Those movies are awesome as well. Thomas Ian Griffith, who plays Valak in the movie Vampire, John Carpenter's Vampires from 1998, I believe. His character is awesome. I mean, he does so well as Valak. He kills it. Another amazing performance, Aaliyah in Queen of the Damned. She was amazing. She plays one of the most unique vampires that I've ever seen, and she was creepy at how she did it. Kiefer Sutherland, The Lost Boys, of course. I have to throw him in there. He's one of the most, you know, iconic vampires of all time, whether, you know, you like it or not. We'll see. Okay, we have to throw in Max Schreck from who plays Count Orlok in Nosferatu as well. Who started it all after all. So Quentin Tarantino. I know that's a different one, but Quentin Tarantino turns into a vampire on From Dusk Till Dawn, and I love that movie and I love that scene where that happens. So I know you can't make any vampire list complete without having Christopher Lee, who played in I can't even remember how many Draculas, but he's most people's favorite that I come across. He's definitely one of mine. Who else, man? I don't know.
Come on, man, you're only at 9. Get it together.
9? Okay. I'll have to say Reggie Nelder. He plays the vampire in Salem's Lot, and he's kind of like the Nosferatu style, or the Count Orlok style. They look a lot alike, only he's a little bluer. But yeah, definitely, he's definitely iconic. So I think that completes it. That's 10, I believe.
Yeah, man, finally.
I have your approval. Thanks. But anyway, I guess that's it. Thank you for watching the Fright Night review, and I hope that maybe you learned something from it that maybe you didn't know before, perhaps. But until next week, stay creepy.